Greetings, brothers and sisters. So I have more to say about, I've been talking about how people who don't believe in God believe in chaos, right? They believe in everything random, and yet they're the people that are the most controlling. And this idea of so many people being, what is it, NPCs, non-player characters, where they just are, they're not, there's no sense of thinking or autonomy or spiritual sovereignty. And some of the implications in what's going on socially in our society. But to start off with, I saw this Don Lemons comes to the defense of an officer involved in a fatal Chicago police shooting. And I saw this on Yahoo News. And Don Lemons said something spectacularly hilarious here.
Police officers have to make decisions in split seconds. And that's why I'm not a police officer, because I couldn't face that kind of pressure. And I just, quite frankly, don't believe that I could do the job. That's why I sit here on TV and analyze it.
That's why you do this. So those are your two choices. Like, you really desperately want to be a police officer, but you couldn't make decisions in split second. So your backup career is sucking on CNN. They have this exchange every night, and I wish they would put it up every night, like they would put it on YouTube, because the handover between Chris Cuomo and Don Lemons is spectacular. It is unbelievably funny. Almost every time I've seen it, it's great. They're both, they're both so clueless and incompetent at their jobs. But what he just said is that he would like to be a cop, but he can't make those split-second decisions, so he just analyzes stuff really badly on CNN. So I looked for this exchange because this is on Yahoo. Like, I wanted to see the full exchange because I know Chris Cuomo's would have said something dopey, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So I found Don Lemons' Twitter page. I've looked at Cuomo's before, but Don Lemons is even better. He's got this picture here, like he's... Yeah, he's good reports. He's serious about something. And then he's got this picture here where he's got a caricature of himself. CNN anchor and Twitter king. Pre-order my book. This is fire.
The hypocrisy, as it always seems to be, is off the charts here.
And so he's got a book coming out. And then I guess there's a bunch of opinion pieces. And really not too much about him and Chris Cuomo's having this exchange and turnover. But I guess he's being interviewed here. Of course, Chris Cuomo's prime time. I looked at that hoping that the exchange would be there, but it wasn't. And so, a little disappointed I didn't get the full exchange, but that's a hilarious quote. Sharon Osbourne tuned out the Talk's return episode after Race Row. Now, if you've watched my videos, I've talked about her being like some sort of gatekeeper, gremlin witch. She has the most annoying voice. Did a number of videos about her. And I'm glad she's, been canceled. I mean, the cancel culture sucks, but she should have been like, off TV a long time ago. She's just a nasty person. So I don't care about her being fired. And they gave her $10 million. I mean, she sucked on this show, and the show sucks, right? This is a worse version of The View, right? The Talk is a worse version of The View. It's like, what I say about Walmart and Kmart, that Kmart's Walmart's crackhead brother. The Talk is The View's meth head sister, right? It's even worse than The View. But then I came across this line, and it said, Cheryl Underwood revealed she experienced PTSD from after Osbourne attacked her on air. Now, they had a little bit of an argument, but to call it trauma and PTSD, I mean, these are arguments that people have on a daily basis, and so I was like, is this actually true? Did she say that? And she did.
On March 10th, the world witnessed a very emotionally charged conversation between you and Sharon.
Mm-hmm. See, they have a dude on here. And I thought he's like running things for this episode. And you know, it was supposed to be about women having their own opinions without men present, right? And, you know, for women, like stuff, for women starring in stuff for women. But now to clean up this Sharon Osbourne mess, they've brought a dude in here.
And it's difficult to go back to that day because I just feel the trauma. I feel fearful, you know, a little apprehensive.
Trauma? You're characterizing that exchange as trauma? Like she goes on to say she had PTSD, which I'll cover in a second. So I'll show you a few excerpts from their exchange. It's an argument, you know. And I mean, it's just an argument like they have all the time on these shows. They like drama. They pull for drama. And this was supposed to be dramatic. It was a setup, right? The producers pushed for this argument. Sharon Osbourne later said that the gals on the talk agreed to make sure they checked in with their co-hosts when the producers gave them set up questions that were supposed to produce a reaction. Because these shows, if there's no argument and drama, there's no show, right? That, you know, those are the moments that pop. Those are the viral moments. This was a viral moment. And the people that run the show make sure that there's lots of viral moments. It's just like any of these reality TV shows. They want drama. Like, you know, people, I mean, the masses want drama, you know? And there's a lot of people who tune into things just to see drama because maybe they're dead inside. I don't know what, you know. I mean, NPCs, right, non-player characters, they tune into these shows so they can feel alive. They want to see drama and, you know, people reacting and things. And as they stare at the TV, you know, blankly.
How can I?
Well, I
Well,
tell you,
what?
We'll be right
Well,
back.
what?
We have more topics, so don't go away.
And I think we should stop this.
So first of all, the voice, right? Sharon Osbourne's voice is one of those shrill voices, like listen to somebody scratch a chalkboard or, you know, some kind of thing like that, right? It's just, you know, shrill and evil, you know, so... But this is where it starts, and, you know, that's not a big deal, right? She's a little bit upset. And then it goes on from there a little bit.
And don't try and cry, because if anyone should be crying, it should be me. This is the situation.
Yes.
You tell me where you have heard him say, educate me.
So she's coming after her a little bit, right? She's, you know, a little bit aggressive, but traumatic. Like, is this, you know, you've never experienced something like this? You know? A shrill little gremlin yelling at you. You know, I mean, I don't experience this as being something that someone would call traumatic and having PTSD from.
But right now, I'm talking to a woman who I believe is my friend. And I don't want anybody here to watch this and say that we're attacking you.
I think it's too late. I think that seed's already sown.
But that...
So, you know, it's an argument, right? It's an argument and, you know, not even that intense. And compared to The View, where Meghan McCain gets, you know, hangry all the time. And they have these, you know, shouting matches. I mean, this is kind of a mild argument. You know, it's a little bit of an argument.
I thought I was asking a question about the perception for other people.
There's Elvis. Is that Sharon Osbourne's dog? Elvis is just chilling. What's up with Elvis?
I feel like I'm in like PTSD. It's because it was a trauma.
See, to call that traumatic, does anybody think that was traumatic? Like she's arguing with Sharon Osbourne. You know, when you talk about PTSD, you're talking about loss of life or, you know, really something that's devastating, a shock to a person's system. When you get really bad news, I mean, when you go through something really traumatic, wars, right? And, you know, people come back from wars and soldiers and civilians and, I mean, all these types of things, abuse, I mean, just brutal stuff that people can't cope with. It's too overwhelming for them to cope with and, you know, a lot of fear. I mean, like, does she think, you know, I think she can take Sharon Osbourne. Like, I think she could, I don't think Sharon Osbourne's much of a threat. Even with Elvis, I think Cheryl Underwood could easily take Sharon Osbourne. I don't know. I mean, Sharon Osbourne might have some spells and witchcraft stuff. But, you know, to call it post-traumatic stress syndrome, like, just like that's where we're at, right? Where people have arguments and, it's a month later. I mean, if you do the heartfulness meditation, like there's a cleaning that you do at the end of the night, right? After your day's activities are done, part of the practice is to do a half-hour cleaning, or you can just do 5 minutes of cleaning if you suffer something that rattles you, right? So you might be upset. You're in an argument. You might be upset. You get some shocking news. You get some bad news, or whatever it is, and you're shook a little bit, and you can sit down, do 5 minutes of the heartfulness cleaning. If you're a person practicing the system, because you have to get introduced to the transmission of the system, which makes the cleaning process work. But again, it's very effective, and you forget about stuff. Like, I suffered, a loss very recently, and I was in a state of shock and just, lost for like a couple of days, or especially that first day. And then just doing the prayer for my daughter, and getting sittings and doing the cleaning, it helped me to absorb and process. And, it's just something that can help deal with the negativity of life. But if we're at the point where people are saying that they get PTSD just for being in an argument, like this is the kind of dispute people have on a regular basis, and this is something that is a part of your job on The View or The Talk, to get into it with other people. Like this is, what they do. This is how they draw viewers in. They create drama. And, PTSD? Like really? So, speaking of traumatic and shrill voices, we have Katy Perry, who I got caught in Katy Perry land when I made, I don't know, like 4 or 5 videos when she was doing that bizarre 24-hour filming of herself, and it's so loaded with symbolism and occult stuff, and she just has such an annoying voice. I've tended to stay away from covering her because it really grades on my system. But I saw this bizarre headline, and I can't remember exactly what it was. It was a couple days ago, where she was talking to this model, Amanda Kerr, or actress, who I didn't know. I didn't understand the context of what was going on, but apparently Katy Perry's husband, Legolas, that guy from Pirates of the Caribbean, Orlando Bloom, is her ex, and she has a son with him, and she has a baby with him, but they're good pals. Miranda Kerr is shilling for some, cosmetic stuff, some sort of, skin cream or whatever. I had to, fast forward through all that. This is one of those Instagram posts that's really a commercial, and Katy Perry's helping her sell her stuff, and then they get into like, well, let's just watch here.
Makeup on all day, and I feel like, oh, it's getting cakey, but you can still see that glow on my skin.
I can't see it. It's not there. What glow? What is this glow that you speak of?
It comes out, and that's not even like highlighter.
No, that's not highlighter. That's just this beautiful, glowing, shimmering glow.
Yeah, are you talking about the shine? Like that light is hitting this greasy stuff you have on your face that is causing the light to reflect off and shine? Yeah, well, yeah, you have that. But that's not glow. Like glow is something that comes from inside, like spiritual love or something, right? From your soul emanating out. There's a difference between glow and shine. Shine is superficial and external, where glow is spiritual and internal. So I've been taking turmeric for like a couple of weeks, as it's anti-inflammatory. So I don't, these products might be perfectly fine. I don't know. Like I'm not using them, right? I'm not the target audience here. But, let's get our glow and shine thing together here. Let's not mistake shine for glow.
And did you know, I don't know if I told you, but all Cora products are filtered through and touch upon rose quartz crystals.
Yeah, what's the science behind that? Because that's...
Yeah, there is none. Like, there's zero science. There's no scientific person that's ever going to say that your products touching rose quartz, your, whatever facial products you're using, that somehow touch rose quartz is going to make a difference. In fact, it's anti-science. Not that I'm a science person, and I like crystals and all this stuff, but you're not you're not going to have somebody say, yeah, there's this scientific principle of your products touching one of these crystals is going to make you beautiful. What's the science behind that? Everything gives off energy. Everything's made up of energy, and there's a spiritual essence behind it, right? Your soul animates your body. Without a soul, you're not alive. Your body isn't alive. And that's the same with inanimate objects. There's a spiritual essence, like it is with, computer programming language, that's behind what you see on your computer. It's a similar type of thing where there's language that's making code that is creating what you're seeing on the computer screen. It's the same thing. But in terms of science, knowing that and being able to figure that out, that's not possible.
Very woo-woo, but
It is. It's
like
something like that I wanted to
It's very woo-woo.
add because crystals have been a big tool that have helped me in my life, like a really nurturing tool, just like essential oils.
Well, you've brought the right shill to your program because no one's a bigger tool than Katy Perry.
And all Cora products are fragrance free, but we use certified organic essential oils.
Which is a fragrance. And so, I can't stand the smell of perfumes and Tide. I like essential oils, most of them, and they're natural, right? But I can't stand when people have like that really, that detergent that has that fake fragrance, and now they have fragrance in trash bags and like cheap fragrance, right? So I don't like any of those things, and essential oils are much better. Crystals, right? Whatever. But at some point, it's just like goofy stuff, right? Like this is, it's just becoming more of that like goop type of stuff. It's Hollywood, taking natural products, organic products that are more expensive, and then giving them a Hollywood shine, bringing out a couple of shills, right? This is, one of these Instagool commercials. But the problem here is, and I've talked about this with things that people consider new age, right? These are the Oprah Winfrey level of spiritualism. And the idea is that you take things that are spiritual in nature, spiritual energy, spiritual teaching, spirituality, meditation, anything to do with prayer and meditation, and you use those things to give yourself a better material life. That they're there, spiritual things are there to enhance your material life, which is fundamentally the wrong way. It's upside down, right? Because it's your material life that's here as a vehicle for your soul and your spiritual evolution, which is what the Heartfulness System's about. It's not about benefiting you materially. There'll be some benefits in your material life just in terms of your ability to deal with stress, your ability to function in this world. And so, yeah, there's some material benefits, but that's not the reason. Your material life is here so that you can have advancement in your spiritual life. And so a lot of people confuse that. They'll say that I'm doing something new age, and I'm saying, no, it's just the opposite. In fact, your religion is more new age than my, Heartfulness System, because your religion, most people do religion to benefit their material life. They'll pray to God for God to remove their miseries, for God to bless them with more money or whatever it is, right? People pray to God, begging God to help them in one way or another. When in reality, these difficulties that you have are, blessings so that you can move forward on your spiritual journey and help you deal with stress and trauma and move on with your life, productively. And so it's the opposite, it's the opposite approach. But all these people who are very materialistic and then they become spiritual only to boost their material life and really boost their egos.
And another thing that was really helpful for me in my life was crystals. And so that's why this
they're energy keepers. They keep great
Yes.
energies. So if you can, have the right energy or whatever you are lacking and like tap into a certain kind of crystal in your hand, then you can source that energy from that.
Yeah. And this one, in addition.
Yeah, that's not true. Anything has energy in it. Everything is made up of energy. Like there is, anyway, let's get on to the family part of this thing.
In addition to the rose quartz, also has citrine crystal in the manufacturing process. Like it touches upon all of the ingredients in here to energize and bring that abundance and that radiance into your life. And
see, what she's saying is, like, this is what these two dopes are proposing right here. That all the ingredients that are there are being touched by a rock. It's a crystal. I mean, rose quartz, it's neat. I've had some of these things over the years. Like I go into these stores and I like picking those things up. And, I mean, there was, when I was going through something in India, I had one of those rock, I forget the name of it. It was, it was like made into an egg-shaped thing. Feels good in your hand. I mean, everything has vibrations. Certainly these crystals and rocks and things and places and people all emit vibrations. And so, that's something. It's like anything else. It has a spiritual energy, a spiritual condition. But she's saying that her ingredients all touch these rocks, right? These stones. And somehow they're charged with spiritual energy when you put them on your face. But what you could do is actually put the rock on your face, right? And how much energy does it get from, like she has whatever ingredients, right? She has some, powder or, lotion or whatever it might be. And she's touching these things with a rock. They all come into contact with these rocks, right? I like to see the manufacturing facility where that happens, where they're touching the rocks for, I don't know, a second or two as they pass through, and they're supposed to be charged now with that energy. Like you could just, roll the rock on your face, right? If that's what would, make you look young again, you could just hold these rocks on your face and stuff. You could walk around with the rocks on your face all day, right? Tape them to your face and it charges it's going to charge the ingredients, and so it makes them extra. It gives them a boost, a spiritual boost.
And so that's why I wanted it to look like a crystal.
I know it looks great in any bag or even on your bedside. I like shiny things, and I love this color, and yes, I love how it's like floating in there.
Yeah, they do the same thing with potato chips, right? You open the bag of potato chips and it's half empty. Or half full if you're Katy Perry. But I love the way it's floating in there with almost nothing in there, where most of this thing is a jar that looks like a crystal made out of plastic.
Yeah, the little pod. I actually designed this when...
Wait, you designed that yourself? Well, you're multi-talented.
We were talking about it, and I had this vision of it being a glass jar and a refillable pod, and they actually came over to my house, and I had to hand draw it and show them like exactly what I...
Wait, you designed something and you actually had to draw it? Like you just couldn't tell these people what you wanted and have them make... That's not designing something. I had to like hand draw it and then, give it to the professional people who then in turn turned it into a real thing, right? But I designed it, it's my idea.
I was envisioning because I wanted that luxurious experience, And I wanted this to be like a beautiful jewel that was sitting on, on your vanity.
Well, I can put my rings in it if I ever, go dry, but hopefully since I'm doing this live, I'll never go dry from my turmeric moisturizer.
Wow, just the shilling, right? I've covered this before, so let's find the family part. I don't know where that is.
Yeah, where you're drinking, like you show up at work and you've got this huge like water, jug, and you're like, okay, but that's my water goals. Exactly. There you go.
These are my water goals.
Maybe you should drink that water out of a, cup made out of rose quartz, so it can charge it with energy as it passes through, you know, as it sits in the cup.
And but it definitely helps even look that way on your skin. Looks like you've just been drinking all of the water.
How have you been going with the celery juice?
Celery juice? Yeah, the celery juice.
Good. I love it.
I love it too.
So Miranda is very, very health conscious. I think
I could see that. She's got, makeup that passes through a processing facility where it gets touched by rocks, and she's drinking celery juice. I mean, she's, this is Mrs. Organic here.
in our modern family, she's probably the most health conscious of everyone. Although Orlando is, really, you guys obviously really love that.
Exactly. They have a lot in common. Maybe they should get married. So this guy was married. This is, this is the ex-wife and the wife, and they're just getting along, swimmingly.
And
he's very much into fitness.
Yes, he is. He's an Adonis. And you help encourage Evan, and he helps encourage me.
Yes.
And, you're it's so funny whenever it's time for Flynn to come over to our house, Flynn will always bring this amazing, nugget of knowledge.
Crystals, or is it a nugget? What is it? Is it a rock? Is it a nugget?
On either skincare or food. We stopped eating eggs at our house.
Yes.
And I was like, eggs.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, thanks. Well,
because eggs suck, right? If you're going to use the turmeric that's going to pass through rose quartz and you're going to drink celery juice, you don't want to wreck it by eating eggs.
At first, when he came home, he's like, oh yeah, I don't really eat eggs. We don't eat eggs at our house. I was like, oh shit, another thing. Let's add it to the list.
It's another thing. I'm going to talk about reading the ingredients in a moment. But, it's another thing. Got to add it to the list. You got to no eggs, It's a long list of celery juice on one side and makeup that's been touched by rose quartz on the other and no eggs on the other side. It's who can keep up with all these lists?
Yes.
Woo-woo, California, healthcare, and then I looked it up and I was like, oh my God, no more eggs.
Yeah. No.
Tell me.
So Anthony William and his books, The Medical Medium and Cleanse to Heal, really helped me so much in my life because I got quite sick when I was pregnant with Hart. And they do say when you're pregnant,
you have kids named Flynn and Hart.
Your immune system can be suppressed and certain things can come to the surface. So for me, I got some gastrointestinal issues, and the only thing that helped me was eating this way, eating really plant-based and pure, and having my celery juice every morning. And I tried everything, and I studied health, and I actually just recently finished a course on Stanford.
That's right.
Online. Yeah.
You've got 3 kids and you're going to college and you run a massive company. It's very admirable.
So then I saw this. Jimmy Kimmel gives anti-vaxxers a blunt reality check on coronavirus shot. And, I'm not really going to comment on this for obvious reasons, but he ends up saying this, which is, let's just listen to him here.
I guess I understand people being skeptical about putting a new kind of medicine in their bodies, but the truth is we don't know anything about anything we put in our bodies. We eat hot dogs, chicken McNuggets, we drink Mountain Dew Code Red. Now suddenly we're all Jessica Alba all of a sudden. Organic in my veins only, thank you.
So did you hear what this MFer just said, right? This non-funny comedian who can't even do his own job, and he's giving advice on healthcare. First he says, we don't know what's in anything that we put in our bodies. And then he says, hot dogs, chicken McNuggets, and Mountain Dew Code Red. And how many people don't know that those things are horrible for you, right? Processed foods. I've talked about this before. Hot dogs are tubes of death, right? They have this pink slime and hot dogs and chicken McNuggets. We know those things aren't good for you. Fast foods. Everybody, I think, knows, 80% of the people must know those things aren't good for you. I don't know, right? I mean, at least people who are not NPCs. I mean, again, this is NPC stuff. And soda, with all its sugar, I think pretty much everybody knows soda's bad for you. I mean, at some point in your life, somebody's told you soda's not good for you. I mean, the kind of soda like Coke and Pepsi, it's loaded with sugar, and then it has a bunch of unnatural stuff in it, right? I mean, there's nothing natural in soda, at least like the main, brands, and then it's loaded with caffeine as well. And so pretty much everybody should know by now that those things are bad for you. And then he says, since you don't know what you're putting in your body, then you might as well just, put a new medicine in your body, just assume it's good, it's good for you. Like, don't do any of your own research, don't evaluate anything yourself. You're not qualified. You don't even know it's in your chicken McNuggets and your hot dogs. Of course, he makes a valid point in terms of, maybe people should start looking at the things that they're putting in their bodies, because those things are causing heart disease. Those things are causing cancer. The two most prevalent causes of death, far exceeding COVID, right? Heart disease is number one and cancer is number two, and that's related to what you're putting in your body. So the two major killers of people it has everything to do with your diet and lifestyle. And so, maybe maybe Jimmy should say everyone should take a look at those things. Everyone should read the ingredients. I've talked about that in the past, because when you're truly waking up, when you become awakened, right, to the nature of our system, you realize you have to read the ingredients in everything, right? I mean, sugar, for example, that's in sodas, they now know because of studies that sugar takes down your immune system for up to 5 hours, right? A certain amount of sugar and your immune system shuts down by like 50% for 5 hours. So your immune system isn't working, and anything you come into contact with is going to, your body's going to have a hard time fighting it off. And so that would be something doctors might say to people that, stay away from sugar. Allopathic medicine is, it's okay for some things, right? And it's necessary for other things, but it doesn't have a way to boost your immune system. There's nothing in the allopathic pharmaceutical medicines that is to boost your immune system. All the, pretty much every pharmaceutical drug has some sort of side effect. And so it isn't like it is, preventative. In fact, the whole medical model is about making money off of being sick, making money off of you being sick, where they're constantly treating the symptoms and you have chronic illnesses. It's not about treating the body holistically, and that's why there's all these alternative medicines and medical models springing up. It's just another way of reading the ingredients. The problem is that people are liars. People lie, and institutions lie on a whole nother level and a whole nother scale. And there was a time when all food was organic and, was grown locally by farmers and people you could mostly trust. And so unless they poisoned it or something, the food was healthy. But now you have all these, chemicals that have been introduced by science. I mean, science has opened the door for all kinds of, there's things out there that aren't really even foods, artificial ingredients that are created by, chemicals and things with, laden with toxins. And we know about this. The people have been, that's why there's an FDA, a Food and Drug Administration, because people will lie and put things in medicines that's bad for you. Of course, all these agencies get corrupted, but the reason they're there is to protect people. EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, right? It's there to protect the environment from people polluting and doing bad things to the environment. And then you have, other agencies like the SEC, which is there to stop people from gaming the financial market. So we know that people are liars, and corporations and, institutions and governments have done horrible things to people, experimented on them and poisoned them and done horrible things. We know there's, laws against certain types of weapons, chemical weapons and the like. And there was a period of time where chemicals just took over. And there was like, chemicals are fine. Chemicals are great. They had that DDT is good for me, right? It was a poison they were spraying to kill bugs. And the chemical industry just took off, and chemicals became a part of our lives. And they're still a part of our lives. And then you have things like Wi-Fi. I mean, in terms of the heartfulness meditation, it's said over and over again that Wi-Fi wreaks havoc on your subtle bodies, your spiritual essence, not just Wi-Fi, but all of it. I've talked about the bombardment of, the electromagnetic fields. And so even living with electricity in your house causes health effects and negative vibratory influences. We're all made up of vibrations. Electricity is a very, coarse energy. And being around electricity and Wi-Fi and, all these things that are bouncing around these signals have a negative effect on people's health and certainly their subtle bodies and their spiritual essence. And so again, this isn't something that science could prove, at least in terms of the spiritual aspect, but it's there. In these Whispers from the Brighter World messages from the Heartfulness Meditation, the second master System Babaji says, from the spiritual realm over and over again, electromagnetic pollution. It's causing havoc, wreaking havoc on the human population. And so what you have is, because of our technological development and our economic development, that there are, things that are unhealthy, microwaves, cell phones, all kinds of various chemicals and toxic pesticides and things that help in the mass production of food and the exchange of information. So the environment in our bodies and our spiritual essence is getting contaminated by our modern day poisons. And people are making money off of it. They're making money off of people being sick. The modern pharmaceutical industry makes, billions upon billions of dollars globally, probably trillions of dollars in chronic illnesses and people being sick, keeping people being sick and keeping them addicted to medications, needing these medications, and also the healthcare system. And there's all kinds of ways people are making money off of the internet and all these other things that are causing health problems, psychological problems, and all, spiritual problems. And so I would love to be able just to trust the leadership and trust big business and trust, celebrities and everybody else. I would love to be able to trust ordinary people, but, you can't, right? It sucks to go around having to read the ingredients to everything. It's exhausting. I'm a slacker. I'm not somebody who really cares that much about these things, right? My ex was obsessed with the newest healthcare modality and the newest dietary, the stuff that Miranda Kerr was talking about. And at the time, there was a period of time we switched our diet so much and eventually we went gluten-free, and I just felt like it was just sending the wrong message to my kids to be obsessed with, at some point you just got to live life in a toxic environment. Not that you still have to minimize the poisons that you're putting in your body and your environment, but you can't, have a clean, healthy, organic everything right now, unless you live up in the mountains and you go off the grid. And even there, you're likely to be connected by something. It's certainly going to be purer there. It's going to be healthier there. It's healthier to go out in nature. But in terms of our modern day lifestyle, if you're obsessed with it and you're constantly dwelling on it and thinking about it, then that's going to make you even sicker. You got to, at some point, not worry so much and do what you need to do. That's the way I look at it. I've always looked at it like, if I get sick, I'll do something about it, but not be obsessed about it. My mom was a little bit of a hypochondriac, so that's the way I've learned to react to it. But you have to learn to balance it out, right? You have to balance the fact that there's just all these poisons in our environment, and the people that run the world and the people who are in charge of, healthcare, in charge of diet, in charge of our food system, are in charge of everything, are liars and don't really care about people, especially when there's money to be made. When I was a kid, there was the Pinto car. I was talking about this with my wife. She remembered it as well, that there was this Pinto and it had a flaw in the gas line. And when somebody, got into an accident, it would likely explode. If the car was hit in a certain from behind a certain area, it would often explode and catch fire. And it did that. It ended up happening. And so this was the Ford Auto companies. They made these economy cars that were supposed to rival the Japanese economy cars, the Toyota cars, and Nissan, Datsun, all these things that were coming over to America. And so they slapped these cars together. They were really ugly, right? They didn't run that well. And they had these major flaws. And so they, instead of recalling all the cars, they figured how much it would cost. And then they figured how many lives would be lost. And they thought about how much they would have to pay out in lawsuits. And they priced human life at like $160,000, $70,000, something like that. Maybe it's $300,000, something like that. And they thought each human life was worth this much. And that's how much they would have to pay for the accidents and the people that burned alive in their cars. And so, this was caught and exposed on 60 Minutes and, all these things. But, we know this is how corporations think. So you run the gamut of, having to do research and having to read the ingredients of everything, but also being able to live your life and have some fun, right? Where you're not constantly obsessed with figuring out how you're being screwed over and poisoned. And so it's a very fine line. And for people who are truly awoken, it's a hassle. You guys know what I'm talking about. I mean, there's this scene from the Matrix movie where the character Cypher is tired of living outside the Matrix and wants to be put back asleep. He says something like, "Ignorance is bliss."
I know this steak doesn't exist. The Matrix is telling my brain that it is juicy and delicious. Ignorance is bliss.
So this character was taken out of the pods that were used as electricity to power the Matrix, right? They are using people as batteries. And then the Matrix is this, computer-generated fantasy world that people are living in terms of their consciousness, their imagination, but they're really in these pods. And this guy is one of the people that has been woken up, but he wants to go back into the Matrix.
I don't want to remember nothing. Nothing. You understand? You get my body back in a power plant. Reinsert me into the Matrix. I'll get you what you want.
See, my solution to all this is doing the heartfulness system, which makes better people. By connecting people to God, they grow a conscience, and they, hopefully grow a conscience, and hopefully they'll become more, human. They'll become more sympathetic to other people. They'll feel guilty about, they won't feel right about cheating and doing things that put the environment and other species and certainly other human beings in danger. You just become a better person with better character because God's a part of your life. You're connected to your soul and God, and it helps you mature and helps you be a better person. And I've experienced this in my own life. And until we get better people, until, especially the leadership, then we're always going to have these issues because, I simply, and most of you don't trust the people that run the system. I mean, I trust them to choose profits over people and choose their agenda and plans over people and to do things in a way that's, think about the amount of weapons and, all the things, atomic bombs and all the things that they've created that are destructive in nature. Like it's something like 75,000 nuclear warheads that America has. And all of these warheads can destroy the world many times over. Like, why would you do that? Why in God's name would you build such things? Especially when we're simply not mature enough to handle them. That's why I say only spirituality will save this world. It's Paul Romano definitely reporting for the Apocalypse and the Ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.